Indoor Football Weekly is a collaborative production of Off the Wall and Alt Fantasy Sports. This week, join Trey and Adam as they break down all the IFL playoff action and give a case for how each team could win the IFL championship. Also joining Adam and Trey is Joey Bonadonna, IFL Broadcaster and longtime Green Bay Blizzard broadcaster, someone who has grown up in the game to give his 2 cents on how the season's shaking out. It's going to be a great episode. You don't want to miss a beat. And welcome into another edition of Indoor Football Weekly, recorded this week, not live and in person from Fishers. Trey, we had a great weekend up in Fishers, Indiana. Great game, absolute amazing reception, and man, that was a spectacular game. I can't get over how great that game was. Old school, punch, counter punch, barely any one. I think, what did we have? Like one turnover in the entire game, maybe one defensive stop. And just a ton of points came down to the last play. What more do you want from an indoor football game?
Yeah, and then the onside kick fest in the final 4 minutes of the game. It was like, all right, we want the ball last. No, we want the ball last. No, we want the ball last. So yeah, it was a great game, great atmosphere. Big shout out to the Indoor Football League and the Fishers organization for opening the doors and being so hospitable with everything. Big shout out to Ari Wolf and Anthony Herron for joining the live stream as well. It was awesome to be able to preview the game and talk shop with those guys.
Yeah, and Anthony Herron getting a little bit of a blindside shot in. As I said, I'll be more ready next time, and I'll make sure we'll go one-on-one with that rep. I think I can hold my own. But it was great. Like you said, just a great chance to really grow the game and explain it to people by saying, no, they should be onside kicking. This is what you do. Shorten the game, shorten the possessions, make sure you have time. Like the clock became the enemy there at the end of the game, particularly for Fishers. 20 seconds left, and they need to throw the ball instead of just giving it to Dominic Roberto. If they had the ball with more than like 10 seconds left, you would have seen Dominic Roberto just barreling through the line a few more times to get them set.
Yeah, and with Fishers, a lot of self-inflicted wounds on that last drive as well, where they had a delay of game that pushed them back an extra 5 yards on that last play. So a lot of those things where you can kind of go back and forth. I'm like, oh, they could have done this, they could have done that. A lot of the stuff was self-inflicted with procedural stuff, some false starts on some key downs. So, yeah, Fishers overall a pretty good season. I wouldn't call it a great season. Obviously, they didn't make the playoffs like they wanted, but they got a good thing going on and off the field.
It's tough right now. Like, it's really hard, particularly in the East. I mean, you have 4 playoff spots, and you have 5 deserving teams in the East. The West had it a little easier.
Mm-hmm.
There's been some calls to kind of say, hey, like, we need to open up the playoffs and not just do a straight top 4 in each conference. We need to do like top 2 in each conference and wild cards from there, which, we hear that a lot, but it's also, I like keeping it in the conference, makes those games matter a little bit more, keeps you a little more regional, develops those rivalries. As much as I would love to see this Fishers team in the playoffs, whether they're going to Green Bay or San Diego, seeing one of those teams having to play Fishers would be great, especially this Fishers team that unleashed just a multitude of looks over the weekend. It was, people said it. It was Fishers came out and ran stuff that they hadn't ran all year, which just made it tough, very tough on Orlando.
Yeah. Yeah. I see the argument to open things up, but at the same time, win more games. That's what it comes down to.
Everybody had plenty of games that they could have won, could have, should have, would have.
Exactly.
It's that. So you can only win the games that they put in front of you. And for 4 teams, 8 teams total, 4 teams in each conference, the season is 1 game at a time right now. 1 game is all that matters. You can't think past that. For the Tucson Sugar Skulls, Arizona Rattlers, Vegas Nighthawks, San Diego Strike Force, Orlando Pirates, Tulsa Oilers, Jacksonville Sharks, and Green Bay Blizzard. Playoffs are here, Trey. We're going to pick the playoff. We're going to talk about the playoff games a little later in the episode, but right now we're going to talk about how each team wins the IFL championship.
Yeah.
And so let's do this a little bit of an inverse here, starting at the bottom. And we'll kind of do this as a loose power ranking. So
Okay.
Trey, who's the eighth? If this was a 1 through 8, who would be 8 in your rankings?
I think it's got to be Tucson. They've got an extremely tall hill to climb in the Western Conference, and considering how they didn't really storm into the playoffs like I'm sure they wanted to. They kind of limped in, and they realistically clinched because San Antonio whimpered out a little bit more than they did in the final 3 weeks of the season. So for Tucson, they had a really good stretch of about 5 or 6 weeks where it was looking like, all right, this Tucson team is looking great. But for the Sugar Skulls, they need an A+ Jerome Johnson game every game from here on out in order to survive this week, in order to make it any further, and to ultimately play that championship game in their own building in Tucson. So they need MVP level Jerome Johnson. We're talking big runs, massive throws down the field. But the running game for Tucson is also an incredible strength outside of Jerome. They got Brandon Mackey, who's been really, really tough to bring down. And then they've got TDIO, who has been a nice change of pace back for Tucson. So the running game has been great, but the challenge is the teams that they're going to face in the Western Conference, they have stout defensive lines that are able to stop the run. So what does this Tucson offense do outside of that running game if they can't get it going?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. Like you said, you nailed it. Jerome Johnson has to play the game season of his life. Nothing better. No one ever been better. No one ever going to do it that well again. If they can elevate to that level, then I believe in Tucson. But we're talking about a team that's 10th in points per game. Several teams, Quad City didn't make the playoffs, scored more than them. Naz only scored a 10th of a point less than they did on the season. There's a team that's going to struggle offensively going up against one of the most explosive offenses in the IFL right now. And Nate Davis is absolutely dialed in. So Jerome Johnson has to play out of his mind, has to have a career run here for Tucson to win it all.
Yeah, and I think Tucson defensively has some really good playmakers that have the potential to get a stop and get a turnover, whether it's Rafiq Abdul-Wahid on the defensive line. He's been so disruptive, but sometimes he's a little too disruptive where he'll pick up a couple of 15-yarders in addition to making a good play. Ahmad Lyons, they got Aaron Jackson in the secondary. So they have the playmakers to be impactful, but it all comes down to the offense. I think the defense will be able to get a stop or two, but this offense against the San Diego defense is going to be tough.
Yeah. All right, stepping up. Who's your 7 seed? Who's 7th in Trey's power rankings right now?
Oh, brother. I'd probably put Orlando based on how the entire season as a whole has progressed. Starting off decent, hitting a little stretch around the IFL Cup where things weren't really going well, kind of scrapped the whole defense, threw it away, and retooled it from ground up. Paxton has gotten reps every week of the way. And the offense has never been the problem for this Pirates team. They've had some weeks that weren't as great as others, but defensively is the big question mark for them. So in order for them to run the table and to make a case to win this championship, they have to dictate the flow of the game on offense, and they need a lot of Puka Williams early and often to be able to take some of that pressure off of Paxton DeLaurent and open things up in this play action game that can be so deadly when you get Puka Williams to touch the ball 15, 20 times a game, whether it's running, receiving, or kick return. You just need the ball in his hands.
See, I think it's actually on the other side of the ball how they win this. I think the defense needs to come up with stops. The defense hasn't really been coming up with stops lately, and they've been winning in spite of that. If the defense starts making stops and elevating, this team is going to be even more scary than they already are. Yeah. If the defense plays well, we're talking about how does Orlando win the championship? Orlando wins the championship if the defense elevates to a playoff mindset. And they've been close, like they've had moments, but they need to get some stops. They need 2 stops a game. If this defense gets 2-3 stops a game, and the offense doesn't change their performance level, look out. It's over. Give Orlando the championship at that point if the defense can take that step.
Yeah, and Zeke Rose played outstanding in his first game with the team against this Fishers offense.
Only going to get better.
He's only going to get better. So the D line is great. They're still retooling some of that secondary. So they give up a ton of yardage on the ground, and in those moments where Dominic Roberto got 5 rushing touchdowns on them in those short.
The great thing is they don't have to play anybody like Dominic Roberto again this year.
That's the thing. That's what they got going for them.
Alexander, right, is hurt.
Yeah, Trayvon Alexander. Yeah,
Trayvon Alexander's hurt, and that's going to make things tough. Like that's going to make things really tough for Green Bay, which makes things easier for Orlando.
Yeah, Kyrie Robinson, I think, was the one we were
Kyrie Robinson, yes.
Yeah. Kyrie Robinson, a bit of a bruiser back himself, where it takes a couple points of contact to bring him out. So yeah, this Orlando team, the path is there. The door has been open for them. It's just can that defense get those stops, like you said?
Yeah. All right, Trey, that's 7. Number 6 seed. This is where you can really start to upset some fan bases.
Yeah, this is where I'm going to ruffle some feathers big time. I think I'm going to put Arizona at this 6th spot, because
I was expecting.
They've played really, really well over the past month of the season. It seems like these Rattler teams over the past decade always close out the season really, really well and have a strong July to finish the season and get in playoff form. And that Kevin Guy preaches that fourth quarter of the season where they want to win the fourth quarter. It applies to ball games. It applies to seasons as well. So for Arizona, they just got to continue to play stout defense, and they got to create more turnovers through the secondary. That secondary has produced 29 interceptions on the year, which is an IFL team record for the Rattlers since they joined the league about 10 years ago. So they're getting turnovers. The D-line is getting pressure. They're going to have to continue to do that because pressure bursts pipes. And if they can burst some pipes in this opening game against Vegas, they have the caliber of athlete on the offensive side of the ball to go toe-to-toe with these teams. But it's going to start on the defensive side of the ball and what this secondary can do.
Nice. I think that's just it. I think it's if the defense – can the offense keep playing the way they've been playing since with second half of the season, Max Myler is going to be the big thing for me. If they can keep that trend going – it's going to be hard for anybody to stop them.
Yeah, Kamani Clark and Ron Brown, both at running back for the Rattlers. Kemo Clark typically being the more scat back. Ron Brown typically being the one cut. I'm running here. If you're going to try to stop me, do your best. Like that type of running back. And when you got both of them on the field at one time with Arlen Bruce stretching it deep, this offense for Arizona can be very, very fun.
Yeah. All right, Trey, that's the 6. Who's at 5?
All right, this is where I'm going to get in some trouble. Despite what the seeding says, I'm putting Jacksonville at 5.
Well, Trey hates Jacksonville. We knew this already. The
forums and message boards have been preaching it for weeks, and so I might as well lean into it. The way this Jacksonville team has ended the year collectively over the past 6 weeks or so hasn't been ideal. Now, the past couple weeks, they've regained their form and they got back on track. But to me, how they win the championship is a heaping helping of Jimmy Robinson. Similar to what we talked about with Orlando with Puka Williams, you have to get Jimmy Robinson involved. And if you get Jimmy Robinson active early, that makes that play action, that makes that read option with Sammy Edwards that much more deadly in the third and fourth quarter and gives him a little more time to pass the ball. So Jimmy Robinson is going to be the key for success for this Sharks team, who shuffled the deck on defense and is looking like they're kind of back to where they were at the beginning of the year. But yeah, a lot of Jimmy.
Yeah, Jacksonville they've won these games and the offenses look good in spite of the lack of Jimmy Robinson, which I think is the most interesting part of that for me is if this offense and this team has been winning games, scoring points without Jimmy operating at top peak efficiency. So if they get him going, this offense then starts to look unstoppable in my mind. And that's scary. I don't know if Jimmy Robinson gets back involved and everything else stays the same, I don't know how many offenses are better than Jacksonville right now. I mean, maybe Vegas and Green Bay, and that's it. Like, if Jimmy Robinson's performing like he did last year, Trey, I mean, what do you think? Which offenses are you taking over Jacksonville if they can get Jimmy Robinson back to that level?
I take San Diego, I take Vegas, I take Green Bay, and I take Tulsa at this point.
So you don't think that, so they don't move up at all in your rankings if Jimmy Robinson gets back to form?
If Jimmy Robinson has like a 2024 all-league Jimmy Robinson day where he has like 100 yards on the ground, 90 yards through the air, and 100 yards returning, of course, that like it's a no-brainer if that happens. But we just haven't seen that be the case. And a heavy dosage of Jimmy Robinson has been 12 to 15 touches for the Sharks team, so that seems to be the magic number for them. And the Sharks are going to live and die with how Jimmy plays in this playoffs.
All right, number 4 seed up next, Trey. Who we going with?
4 is tough. I for the same logic that I used Jacksonville at 5, I'm going to put Vegas at 4, just because this Vegas team over the last back half of the year has had some injury concerns, has had issues where Jayden de Laura didn't take the field for injuries for this and that. Some like Quentin Randolph didn't make the trip to New Mexico due to some rest, and he didn't really play the last week of the season either. But despite all that, they still have found ways to win ball games, and they've still found ways to be impactful even without their star players. But I think we're encountering an interesting rest versus rust debate with Jayden de Laura coming back, where the past month and a half he's played 2 games of football. So he's good. He should pick up where he left off, but there's a little bit of uneasiness that I would prefer not to be there if I was a Vegas fan. But this offense is stacked. Very talented team from top to bottom. Running the ball, pick your poison. Tomas or Wimbush. Passing the ball, pick your poison. Randolph or Stoudemire or Seneca McKee, who's been outstanding this year. So the talent is there. It's just a matter of can all the ingredients be mixed together on this offense and get back to where they were, scoring 60 at a moment's notice in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, you alluded to it right there. The key is just, does Jayden de Laura come back, and can he be Jayden de Laura? If he comes back and he's that guy, Vegas can win it all. Vegas can win it all again and be right there in the championship game and the team to beat. But there's questions there. I mean, again, like you mentioned, 2 games. The offense has sputtered a little bit down the stretch without him. But can he just step in seamlessly? Time will tell.
Yeah, I think this Vegas defense has plenty of talent as well, but they've shuffled the deck on their own in their own way. So they're still getting used to each other. And Joe Fouché, all-league player, coming over to Vegas, that seemed like a cheat code in the middle of the year. And then you got Isaiah Majors, who was having arguably a Defensive Player of the Year worthy season in Jacksonville. He gets cut a couple weeks ago. Naturally, he signs with Vegas. So it's like the talent is just absurd on this Vegas team, but can it all come together?
Yeah. All right, Trey. Number 3, I'm going to bet that this is your Tulsa slot.
That is my Tulsa slot. This Tulsa team winning 9 in a row. Granted, all 9 have not been the prettiest of wins, but wins are wins. They all count the same. This Tulsa.
They don't ask how, they ask how many, Trey.
That's right. That's a nice little preview of something to come. But this Tulsa offense, I think the first name that comes to mind is going to be TJ Edwards, as it should be. But I think the key to this Oilers offense being successful in the postseason is at the running back spot with Caleb Ramseur, rookie running back who joined the team about 6 weeks into the season, has brought some much needed balance to this offense and taken some of the load off of TJ Edwards' shoulders so that he doesn't have to do everything himself. He's not running the ball 15 times a game and taking all those hits. He's ditching the ball off to Caleb. He's getting 5 or 6 yards a carry, occasionally busting one for longer, and bringing some much-needed balance where you're making teams respect the short run game, which just makes Jermaine Smith and TJ Davis that much more deadly on the deep ball.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's going to be big. Yeah, TJ Edwards, it starts and ends with that, because if TJ Edwards is playing like he normally plays, it's over. They got it. They're good. But can he get back to that? Can he maintain that level and put this team on his back the way he's been doing?
Yeah. Yeah, the TJ Edwards, one of the knocks on him throughout his IFL career is he has outstanding regular season performances, but it just kind of sputters in the playoffs. So I think this is a prime opportunity for him and this Oilers team to rewrite some of those narratives and make their way to the national championship.
Yeah. All right, Trey. Number 2 in your power rankings. Which fan base is going to be mad at you for not believing in them? Is it Green Bay or is it San Diego?
If last week didn't go the way it did, my answer would be different. But I'm putting Green Bay at the 2 spot here.
Oh boy, Trey, disrespect the Blizzard and Blizzball.
Because
the disrespect of Blizzball.
Future MVP Liam Thompson starts the game versus Jacksonville, and they're down 20 in the first half.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great look. It wasn't something that you wanted to see if you're a Green Bay fan. Personally, I didn't think Thompson would see the field at all, but I'm pretty sure they had a bye week the week before, so they didn't want a double bye situation where the guy hasn't played ball in 2 weeks, right? So I understand it in hindsight, but I would have hoped for a better outcome than what we saw with the starting quarterback that's been lighting it up all year playing like that. But that being said, Liam Thompson is still unbelievable. Still one of the best players in all the IFL this season. And defensively, on the defensive line, I think the key for Green Bay is, can that defensive line win their matchups and cause some havoc with Allen Henry, with Jonathan Ross? Jonathan Ross has been playing outstanding, and would not be surprised to see him on an all-league team when the defensive first team gets announced. But this D-line and this O-line, I think the game is won in the trenches for Green Bay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's won in the trenches, but I think the bigger question has to be, and the guys who are going to make or break this are DeMillan Brown and Ontario Brown, the 2 running backs stepping in for them with the injury to Kyrie Robinson and Kyrie Robinson going out. So I think, Kyrie Robinson was such a big part of what they did offensively. He obviously, Liam Thompson did a lot with his legs, but Kyrie Robinson was heavily involved, was a guy who made plays with his legs through the air. So what do they do now that he is not going to, that it seems like he is injured and not going to be there for the playoff run?
Yeah,
DeMillan Brown has been spectacular as well.
Yeah, DeMillan Brown started as the main running option for this team. He was signed actually as the backup quarterback. Like he's a quarterback that turned into a running back, and he was pretty dang good, all things considered. He got hurt early in the year. That opened the door for Robinson, and Robinson took it and ran with it. So this is a nice little redemption arc for DeMillan Brown to be able to say, like, hey, remember me? I'm still here. Let me show you what I can do.
Yeah. And it's like we said, no team has an easy game this weekend. There's no easy games from here on out. Any one of these teams could win. Green Bay's got to see Orlando for a third time, and that's tough. Like that's just such a brutal first game to have.
It's tough to beat any team 3 times.
Yeah.
It is.
And then closing it out, your number 1 team, your number 1 since the preseason, mind you.
Yeah.
The San Diego Strike Force. Trey, what's the make or break here for the San Diego Strike Force?
Feed Vander. If you can get him going, if you can get, similar to what we talked about with Tulsa, get defenses to have to commit to stopping the run, and the way that they utilize the wide receivers in the blocking game, where they have the high man motion wide receiver coming in and blocking the blitzing linebacker and freeing up an O lineman on a pull. Like some of the stuff that they're doing schematically is unbelievable. So big shout out to Adam Shackelford for some of the work he's done implementing some of that run game with Nate Davis. But yeah, this running game for Ed Vander and Tyrell Green as the change of pace guy. But the defense, I think, is going to have themselves a day and have themselves a playoff. run especially with this D line and some of the pressure that they're able to bring. Wallace Cowens is unbelievable. Adam Anderson has been outstanding, and the pressure that they bring only enables a veteran secondary to make plays and do what they do best. So defensively, I feel like San Diego's in a prime spot, and if they're able to run the ball, play great defense, and then get some contributions on special teams from Ernesto Lacayo, you win all three phases of the game. That's a recipe that no team wants to face, and I think they've been doing all three really, really well.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned it. It comes down to Vander. Can they put the ball in Vander's hands in all phases of the game? I mean, he does it in the receiving game. He does it in the rushing game, and he's just so critical. This team has been so much fun to watch. And, they have – it's not an easy game, but they have technically the easiest game with Tucson. But you have an MVP, a former league MVP coming out of that tunnel over there, and that's going to make things tough.
You want to say it's hard beating the team 3 times. Imagine trying to beat a team 4 times.
Yeah,
that's what San Diego's trying to do with this Tucson.
San Diego's trying to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like anytime once you get past the 3rd time, it's all just gravy from there. But we'll see.
You would think.
We'll see. They got the standalone spot on, they have the Sunday night capper at 9 p.m. So that'll be exciting. So Trey, any final thoughts here as we kind of wrap this segment up and move on to the next?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different storylines, and that's one of the things I love about the IFL playoffs is going into any IFL playoffs, you can make a legitimate case for every team to make a run, and it's not often you see that in any professional sports, let alone the 50-yard game. So this is going to be very, very fun, and I'm excited to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Again, just kind of next things. You're going to listen to me talk to Joey Bonadonna next, IFL Broadcaster, Green Bay guy, got his start up there, talked to him a little bit about his thoughts on the season and just his journey. And then at the end of the episode, Trey and I will pick the games, give our predictions for each individual game. So enjoy this interview with Joey. All right, and joining us now on the program, Joey Bonadonna. Joey, IFL Broadcaster. No one can say better than you that they've grown up in this game, in this sport. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. And just talk a little bit. How'd you get here? How'd you end up on this stretch? And what's this year been like for you?
Yeah, well, first off, Adam, appreciate you having me on. You said it. I mean, I not only as a broadcaster, but really just as a person, I've grown up, longing for the indoor football league season coming up, whether it be, starting in February, March, as it has been in years past, and March this year, but all the way through. I mean, you see behind me, obviously, there's no surprise of what sport's my favorite. And growing up here in Green Bay, Wisconsin, football is life, not to quote Danny Rojas, the other football. But this is an opportunity to see some really good football, whether it be on a smaller field. This has been an opportunity to see it year round. And if you're trying to get your football fix, this is the place to be. I started going to games, growing up in Green Bay. I went to Blizzard games growing up. And that was back 2016, 2017, 2018. I'm watching some of these, coaches and players that, I get to cover now. Back then, about a decade ago now. But now an opportunity to cover them. And that kind of turned quickly. In 2019, I joined the broadcast team with the Blizzard as their color analyst and kind of got thrown into the fire. My first game was against the Arizona Rattlers. And, of course, they bring a very large contingent of a fan base. And I look at the YouTube live stream numbers and I see 1,000 people are watching the broadcast. And that was a pretty atypical number at the time. Of course, we'll get back to that in a second, but that was a pretty large number. And I look at that number and I was frozen. I'm like, 1,000 people are going to be listening to every word that I'm saying. You quickly get over that. You get about 5 words in and you're just like, you're having a conversation with your broadcast partner. 2019 was a really fun season. The Green Bay getting covered from that side. First time they made the playoffs since 2012. So getting to jump in and call that action was a really good introduction. Of course, that was also Corey Robeson's first year as head coach for the Blizzard. As the full-time head coach, he was in the interim the year before, but he was able to kind of build his own program and lead it to the lead it to the playoffs, they were they would have gone under center with the forward progress rule. Instead of snapping out a shotgun, they probably would have had that game won against Nebraska. Lo and behold, they didn't. So they had to fight and claw their way back. 2020, they don't have a season, obviously, with COVID. 21 and 22 and 23 for that matter, they missed the playoffs, going about 500 through those ranks. But 21, I kind of took on the play-by-play role, and you were able to see that growth. They had some really fun games. In fact, we'll talk about this Pirates Blizzard matchup, I'm sure, but whenever these two match up at the Resch Center, there's going to be some intrigue in some way, shape, or form, and this week will be no different. But 21, 22, 23, getting to see that team all the way through, doing the play-by-play, and of course these last 3 years, this past year in a different avenue of it, but you're seeing the organization you saw in year one under Corey Roberson start to find its stride again. Having some high-level quarterback play, and we can talk about that too. 23, I think they had one of the best quarterback rooms in the IFL. They didn't know it at the time because they were all rookies.
No,
but
they didn't. That was an all-time sneak up on everybody, with Jerome and Max becoming who they became.
And then on top of that, Jerome Johnson being hurt that year, he had a knee injury in 23. Trip Harrington, who's now become close to one of the best receivers and gadget guys in the league, he was the guy they signed to be the backup to Max Myler. So all three of those guys are in the same room at once, and now they've all gone on to do some really fun stuff in the IFL. 26 this year, kind of been able to jump into the Yahoo broadcast team and the overnight broadcast team, and the being able to do this from the leagues, their new broadcast deals. It's been a blessing, and I definitely don't take it for granted, the opportunity to continue telling these stories about a league that I care so much about, and being able to see its growth. And I think we said it to Trey when I was on his show. You could kind of tell the ceiling's about to open. That they've been taking those small strides to raise the floor. Now the ceiling's just opening, and you could see the all-time potential that the Indoor Football League has in store for years to come.
No, I mean, it's definitely been that. Yahoo's really elevated the product, put the sport in a spot where people love to see it and can see it. And it helps that we've had one of the most exciting stretches we've ever had in the IFL. I mean, we have 8 teams in the playoffs, and Trey and I talked about it earlier. All 8 teams could win the whole thing. Some of them have a harder path than others, but we also have 4 very clear MVP caliber players in these playoffs. We have TJ Edwards, we have Liam Thompson, we have Paxton DeLaurent, and we have Nate Davis. All of them, 3 of them have 50-plus passing touchdowns. Yep. One of them is just short of 50 passing touchdowns, but has 20 rushing touchdowns. Like, just some absolutely gaudy numbers getting put up here. And I know you have a little bit of hometown bias towards Liam, but what are you thinking of this MVP race?
Well, hey, before my light went out on me, so I got a quick fix. There we go. No, I mean, this is an incredible playoff race. I know the numbers have been out there that this is one of the most competitive. I think another guy that you kind of forget about with the games that he missed was Jaden DeLaura, but he's a guy that when he's in the game, for the most part this season, he's been that steady rock too, and he's been able to take care of the football. He's been able to run the ball at a decent rate too. I think he's kind of that similar ilk of a Liam Thompson, that he might not have the passing numbers, but he kind of has that rushing ability to help back him up a little bit. But you forget about that because he has missed 2-3 games, whether that be to injury or whatnot. But that has kind of set him back a little bit. I think if you talk midway through the year, he probably was the leader going into at the end of the IFL Cup, winning the trophy out in New Jersey. I think he was probably the odds-on favorite if you were keeping odds. But like you said, I mean, Liam Thompson being the quarterback of a 13-3 team that has kind of just been steady. He's had some down games, but for the most part, his down games are still not all that horrible. But he's just been consistent. I think that's kind of the big thing about him. The other guys you mentioned, I mean, TJ Edwards, he's been doing it at a high level for so long. I mentioned one of the games that I was able to call in Green Bay, his season opener with the Frisco Fighters, I believe it was 2023 that year. He scored 10 touchdowns all by himself, either throwing the rock or running it. 10 touchdowns all by his power. And he can go out and give you that, the opportunity to put up 6 or 7 touchdowns he has that potential. He's a guy that if I see him on the other side of the line of scrimmage, I know that his team has a chance. It's funny. I pushed back Brent on Inside the IFL this week. Brent Stover said this week he wasn't sure if Tulsa had a chance to win the championship. I pushed back on that heavily.
As you should. I think saying Tulsa doesn't have a chance is saying I just don't like fun. Like TJ Edwards has been absolutely electric. I mean, again, 2,400 through the air, 5'11 on the ground, 59 through the air, 18 on the ground, 77 total touchdowns for this man. 77 total touchdowns, 3 yards short of 3,000 yards. He's been great. And Tulsa's on a 9-game winning streak right now. How can you, this team is there. This team is ready. This team is locked in. And again, every one of these teams has the capability. The only one that I'd say needs like a drastic turnaround is Tucson, because Jerome Johnson needs to go and be MVP Jerome, which he can do. And we've seen flashes of. Because that's how good this Tucson team is.
We saw Tucson team in about June when we saw them. Then we see, okay, they have the defense. They have the defensive guys that are going to go and get a turnover. You have a really good pass rush, and you have an MVP caliber quarterback in Jerome Johnson. I think we saw that version of Jerome Johnson, of course, a couple weeks against Naz, but you see a little bit of that oomph. And I go back to the earlier part of the season. You know, we talk about that Tucson-San Diego matchup. We're kind of jumping around a little bit, but
good.
I think that we saw that earlier in the season. Tucson pushed them. They still had, I think it was Draylen Ellis at quarterback, or they were kind of doing that rotation a little bit in the early part of the season. They had San Diego up against the ropes. Of course, completely different teams, and I believe this game was in Tucson as well, but they still have a little bit of that potential to them. If San Diego's turning over the football, I think that there's a chance that they can pull the upset here in round 1. Now, if they're able to stretch that on to 3 consecutive wins against the best teams in the league, I don't know yet, but I think they certainly have that potential. We saw that they could do that in the month of June with wins over Vegas. And obviously they did run into leave that all aside. I think they have the potential to have some fun here in this postseason. Back to the MVP race, Nate Davis can throw it with the best of anyone that I've seen. He just continues to do it year in and year out. You're thinking, all right, is this the last one? Is this the last ride? And you watch him, he's like, how is it? He can come back and do this 2-3 more years at an incredibly high level throwing the rock. So there's that. Go ahead.
I mean, I was also going to say, like, in addition to all of those guys, quietly, weirdly quietly, Paxton De Laurent, 3,000 total, 3,000 total yards, 69 touchdowns, or 73 total touchdowns. Like, that 9 touchdown game to put your team in the playoffs. There's ever been an MVP moment. I think it's that. I mean, he's just completing 71% of his passes, which is absolutely wild to me. He is first. He's better than Jaden DeLora. He's got more yards than anybody else. Just, I don't know. You could make an argument for 4, maybe 5 or 6 players to win the MVP, because that's before we get to Jaden DeLora and before we get to Jermaine Smith, who was a Triple Crown winner, 1,000 yards, 93 catches, 31 touchdowns through the air. God bless indoor football. God bless indoor football.
I was just about to say with Paxton. I mean, what a story that is. A guy that didn't even know he was going to be the starting quarterback until 24, 48 hours before his team kicked off in New Mexico. There was a late change there, and he ends up taking that starting job, and he had some ups and downs, to say the least. I think kind of around that same part, around Memorial Day, the IFL Cup, they had some ups and downs. They took a big lump of a loss to Vegas out in New Jersey, and they took a lump of a loss on the road at Tucson. But and I think also, in Adam, you and I were both there in Orlando for Green Bay Orlando the last time the two teams played. It was an incredible game. He had that moment at the end of the game where he tried to pitch it out late, tried to make a play, and lost the handle on the football, and essentially that was the play that lost Orlando the game. Look at what he's done the last two games since then. I think he wants to get that taste out of his mouth as quickly as possible. He had an incredible game against San Antonio. I believe he turned over the ball a couple times. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was still able to throw for incredibly high efficiency. You talk about this game against Fishers. Every time his team needed an answer, he was there to help deliver it. Mm-hmm. These two games have been incredible for Paxton DeLorean. And he had a great game against Green Bay as well. He was incredible running the ball down in the red area. And that one turnover aside at the end of the game, he has been playing some incredibly good football. I think on the other side of it, you do look at the record, and I think you do the only one that I'll push back on is the fact that you have TJ Edwards, and the start of the season, he's working his way back from that injury that he had last year. His team's at 2-5. I look at a guy in that Tulsa offense that they threw in. Their last losses for his first game was the last time that they lost, in Caleb Ramsey in that element to that Tulsa on the stretch. But since then, you see that Tulsa offense, and you have the fact that he's won 9 in a row. Anytime that his team has needed a win, you can trust TJ Edwards to go out and do it. I think he's going to have another tough task going into the Shark, but he has all the potential. I think if you're looking at just an extra win on Tulsa's record, I think that he could be the most valuable player in this league this year. And this is a guy that's done it before. I believe he's won an MVP before at 22 or 23 when he was with Frisco. He can do it at an incredibly high level. And there's no shock that, of course, you look at the comeback fashion that he came back from a pretty gruesome injury last year, late in the season, and he's still doing it at an incredibly high level. Gosh, I mean, that's a guy that it's TJ Edwards. He's been doing it for so long, and I think you can literally point to any team across the IFL. They have a quarterback that they can go and trust at their ceiling and to go out and win them a game, potentially a championship.
Yeah. All right, Joey, as we're kind of wrapping it up here, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who's your MVP today? If Joey Bonadonna got a vote, who is your vote? If they put you in the room with the other voters, who are you pounding the table for?
I've been the unofficial campaign manager for the Liam Thompson for MVP campaign. I got to stick with it. I look at the moments that he's had, and it might not have been. And again, you also look at that schedule, and that you do have a lot of games against Quad City and Iowa. It might just look like you just have that on their schedule, but you look at some of those games. He had some really big moments in that road game against Tulsa that he was able to get down in the red area and grind out a play to win a game. He did have 3 turnovers in that game, but at the end of the day, he came out. He can win. And this is another thing that Brent Stover's found a way to describe him. He can win pretty and he can win gritty. I think that's what Liam Thompson brings to a team. I also look at the fact that he had to come in and fill the shoes of an MVP that departed Green Bay last year. That has to say something. And the fact that you might not have expected that out of a first-year starter. He has been that guy from day one, from week 1 to week 20. He has been the guy that's been able to steady the ship of what was probably an incredibly turbulent offseason for Green Bay. They were able to right the ship and immediately go out and get some results in this season and share the league's best record at the end of the day. I've got to go Liam Thompson. I think you talk about the fact that he has those 20 rushing touchdowns on top of 48 passing touchdowns.
Yeah.
I think just the way that the Green Bay offense suits him, it's a perfect fit, and he's been able to ride that to being, I would say the best player on the league's best team as we sit right now, in terms of the best record. But I know we talked a little bit about the playoffs. This is the stat I wanted to come in with. The 1 seeds in the IFL playoffs in the first round, they are 5-3. That is not an incredible number.
No, especially since if you're Green Bay, you're coming off a game where you played Jacksonville in a game you didn't really need, and you still played Liam for most of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if your foot was really off the gas or what. You lost your running back, who's been the center of your offense, and now you're going back to a guy who's good but hasn't been the guy down the stretch, and you're bringing in another, I believe he's a rookie as well.
Yeah.
So you're on your back foot, and you've got an Orlando team coming in hot that has won a playoff game already. That was a playoff game last week in Fishers.
No doubt.
They went on the road into a hostile environment. I'm sure Green Bay is going to be just as hostile. But let me tell you, they were letting every Orlando player have it in Fishers.
Yeah.
And I have not been in an environment that hostile in the 50-yard game in a minute. And it was great to see. It was like, we are so back, baby.
So there's that as 5-3. How about those 5 teams that won their first round game? How many of them do you think won the conference championship?
I'm going to bet all of them. 0. Okay.
0-5 are the 1 seeds.
Oh boy.
If Green Bay or San Diego.
Are you worried, Joey? Are you worried for your hometown Blizz? I know you're a broadcaster and you're not supposed to have your teams, but we all know we do.
Is for Green Bay or San Diego to go and get to the dance, they're going to have to make some history. It's been 4 years since the IFL moved to a 1-4 Western Conference and Eastern Conference playoffs. This is year 5 of it. Is this the year that a 1 seed finally makes the championship game? It has not happened since 2021 when it was the Arizona Rattlers as the 1 seed in a 1-8 scenario. Now it's 1-4 on each side. You have the league's best on each side of the formation, on each side of the bracket. This tournament and the way it is constructed is hard for the 1 seeds to do it, because you look at it and you mentioned Orlando is on an incredible, they're on a hot streak. The San Antonio game, for all intents and purposes, didn't mean anything for their playoff trajectory. Even if they lost that game, they still had to. It wouldn't have mattered. They would have had to go into Fishers to win and get into the postseason. Even if they had lost, they still had a chance. But they were able to make some plays down the stretch there. They're able to go and get that last, they won at the end of the game against Fishers. They've had to be in those games. You look at Green Bay, and I think you mentioned you're trying to find that gas at the end of the regular season. They have that win against Orlando, as gritty of a win that was. The last 3 weeks of the season at Iowa, which players were out at halftime of that game, a bye week, and then at Jacksonville after you've already clinched the 1 seed, and Jacksonville's playing for home playoffs. There's not much there to get up and play for. If you can muster that up to get into the postseason and take down a hot Orlando team that's as talented as anyone in this league, that's a tough 3 weeks of a runway to get lifted off from where you were in the middle of the season. It is hard, and I think that's why so many teams see it. You're going, everything to the wall to get to week 20 and to get that 1 seed and to get home playoffs. What if one team just comes in on the road and gets that win? Then everything's chaos. I look at last year and I look at Bay Area. That was that 1 seed that it didn't look like anyone in the IFL could beat Bay Area last year. And who did they run into? A 4 seed Vegas team that had all the talent in the world, that had to win the week before to get into the postseason. They won that one going away against Tucson, but they won, and they were playing in a playoff game essentially. and they came out and they punched Bay Area in the mouth, up 21-0 at the start. The interesting part about this, Adam, that Bay Area team, a lot of that staff is in Orlando right now.
Yeah.
A lot of those players are in Green Bay right now. The same exact situation. I actually, been talking about this week a lot. The same exact situation is playing out this week in Green Bay. It is a 4 seed with all the talent in the world that has had their backs against the wall to get into the postseason against a 1 seed that they've looked like the best team in the league for the majority of the season, but it's a 1-game elimination. Win or go home. This is going to be, in my opinion, you talk about Vegas, Arizona, and the rematch of the IFL Cup Championship and everything that's gone on in May. That's an incredible matchup in and of itself. And I think those two teams have changed a little bit. And I think one team has the upper hand now they might not have had back in May. A little bit of the tip of the hand of where my pick is. But Orlando, Green Bay, there's so many storylines. And I said this going into the Orlando Green Bay matchup at the Rest Center when I was on play-by-play. This is the most underrated rivalry in the Indoor Football League. Since these two teams have been matching up, there have been Hail Marys. There have been some of the biggest upsets in league history. There have been comebacks. There have been playoff games. And we're going to have another one this week at the Rest Center Sunday at 1 o'clock Central Time. Anything you can ask for from an indoor football game, it is right here in the Pirates and the Blizzard.
Yeah. And so, Joey, just going to put you on the spot one more time. Who wins this game, and then who wins the championship? And then
I do have a policy. If I'm on the broadcast of the game, I don't pick a team that's in that game. But that's where I leave it, is that this is going to be a game. If you and I think both teams have an equal chance coming into this, and not to dodge the question. I think this is everything you want.
2 games decided by 4 points so far this year, and come down to the last.
And the first one, I will say the first one in Green Bay, the final score is a little deceiving in the sense that it was
you and Trey both out here with this. It doesn't really count as a 1-score game.
It was a 2-possession game until in all essence, it was a garbage time touchdown. If they had scored with time left on the clock, yes, then it would have been an opportunity to come in and tie the game. But there was no time left on the clock. It was the end of the game. Yes, they scored.
I think if you score at the end of the game, you should do the conversion, and you should be able to take the deuce attempt. I think that would just add some nice
devil's advocate on this. Green Bay was able to double up at halftime. They were able to score going into the half, and they were able to get the ball at the start of the
double dip is huge. The double dip is huge.
If the coin flips a different way, Orlando might have the upper hand in that game. You can say coulda, woulda, shoulda, but if the coin flips a different way and the ball bounces a different way in Orlando, this is a completely different series than what we've seen it this year in the IFL playoffs. I think both teams understand that going into this matchup on Sunday. That's where I'll leave it on Pirates Blizzard. The other games, I'm happy to get.
No, I don't need the other games now. I just need who's winning the whole kit and caboodle from you.
I should have a pick right now, right? I want to see this week because
No. I let you slide on the game pick. You're not sliding on this one.
Well, then all right. I'll throw it there. I have to say Green Bay. They've been the best team throughout the season. If I'm going to throw one out there, I think this is the year they get it done. They've continued to climb that ladder. They got to the conference championship in 24. They got to the national championship in 25. I don't think they have any intent of taking a step back, but they're going to have to go through a bit of a gauntlet to do so. I think they're going to have to take on an incredibly talented Eastern Conference field. Do I think anyone in the East has an opportunity to win it at any given moment? And then on the West, I think you're going to have a hot team that comes out of there. You have a Vegas team that you played in week 1. Same thing. If the ball bounces a different way, Vegas has a chance to win that game at the gun. Arizona, what storyline, what intrigue that would be. And you can have a rematch of a national championship from the year before, but you look at an Arizona team. Well, who's the starting? Well, there's been the storyline of this week that Arizona signed Dalton Sneed. I don't know where that's coming from. That is as shocking as me.
I think that's just bringing in a veteran just in
I
case
would
something
imagine.
happens. I think it's making
yeah,
sure you don't have to sign a rookie off the street,
Yeah.
so you can have
Yeah.
Drew or Dalton come into the game. I'm curious who dresses as the backup on Sunday.
Yes.
That'll be what I'm most looking at.
That's my most. But for all intents and purposes, the starting quarterback is Max Myler, who is the MVP.
Yes, he is.
That was in Green Bay for 3 years and has kind of led Green Bay back to prominence that they've never been in the indoor football league. You have that injury. You have San Diego. San Diego and Green Bay have both made it to the conference championship in the last 2 years. They have an opportunity this week to make it 3 years in a row. I think those two teams have been on a collision course to meet each other at some point. They haven't, though, since 2023 in that regular season, which was the fateful game that Jerome Johnson hurt his knee, and you got to see a little bit of what Max Myler was made of at the tail end of that regular season. Gosh, I mean, the West is all loaded. You have so many great matchups there. Tucson on top of it, too. You have Jerome Johnson as a former Blizzard quarterback. I think any one of those matchups has intrigue, but you got to get out of the East first. At the end of the day, it's this game against Orlando that is an incredible matchup and has been for years. And then on the other side, you have Tulsa, Jacksonville. If you'd have told me a week ago, even if Jacksonville was able to host the that game, if you would have told me, I would feel Tulsa hands down. They're the hottest team in the league, and I would say a lot of people are venturing to say the best team in the league right now, based on how the second half of the season has gone. But look at what Sammy Edwards and the Jacksonville Sharks were able to do in Week 20 against Green Bay. They were able to put up 60 points on a defense that, for the most part, they limit possessions. They were able to take the top off of that Green Bay defense, go shot for shot, and for the most part, they were able to finish their drives. Green Bay wasn't, and they came out with a resounding win that they had control of since midway through the second quarter. Jacksonville has it now. I think they needed the little bit of that pressure off their shoulders, and now I think they're going to be able to play free a little bit against this Tulsa team. Anyone's got a shot at this, a fair shot at this, Adam.
Love to hear it. All right, Joey, thank you very much for your time. Anything you want to plug before you get on out of here?
Well, hey, I mentioned I'll be on the broadcast for Orlando, Green Bay, Sunday at 1:00. I mean, if you weren't already tuned in to, you have no reason to. You have Yahoo Sports. You have standalone game after standalone game. You got Saturday to kick things off with that Tulsa-Jacksonville game. And then starting at 2:00 Eastern time, just keep it locked on Yahoo Sports all the way through to the end of the night. A little bit of IFL After Dark out on the West Coast. We're going to have a fun week, and I think it's another thing that's out there. I think this is the most intriguing week of IFL playoff football that we have had in quite some time.
There we go. All right, Joey, thank you very much for your time. We look forward to seeing you on the broadcast.
Appreciate you, Adam.
So, taking a look, we got 4 IFL playoff games this weekend, all of them taking place on Yahoo Sports. 1 game Saturday, 3 on Sunday. We'll start on Saturday. We've got a showdown between the Tulsa Oilers and the Jacksonville Sharks. We've talked about it before, Trey. No one wants to see Tulsa right now. But Jacksonville won that home playoff game, which was huge to see. Monstrous to see them earn that home playoff game. And they've looked a little frisky. Like, they played well against Green Bay. Now, granted, I think Green Bay was playing kind of vanilla. But I don't know, Trey. It could be the start of something here in Jacksonville. Did the defense finally start to get it together? Is Sammy Edwards finally ready to step up on the big stage? But, I mean, you were in the Tulsa shirt. I'll let you take over here.
Yeah, I mean, Tulsa, I just love what Tulsa's doing. Offensively, they're stretching the ball downfield. They're getting German Smith deep. They're able to get TJ Davis involved in the passing game. And then they're also making teams accountable in the running game with Caleb Ramseur. So I love what this Oilers team is doing on offense and defense. They're opportunistic, they're frisky, being able to get some stops and get some turnovers. But for the Sharks, they made it a little more stressful on their fans, and I think the fans may have wanted it to be to get that first home playoff game in the IFL. But it's Jacksonville has had like a resurgence over the past couple of weeks themselves, where that last game against Green Bay, it's still Green Bay. Sammy Edwards had one heck of a game that only got overshadowed by an unbelievable Paxton DeLaurent game and that play-in game in Fishers that we were at. So Sammy Edwards is throwing the ball really, really well. This defense, they shuffled the deck a little bit with about 3 games left and made some major changes, and so far it's working out for them. But yeah, the last time these two teams played, albeit it was in Tulsa, Tulsa controlled this game from start to finish, and Jacksonville made it interesting towards the end. But this Tulsa team, I really, really like what they're doing.
Yeah. Am I reading this correctly? Jacksonville just brought in a new where did Jaden Stoshik come from? Like,
Jaden Stoshak's been on the Sharks for a little bit.
Okay, just hasn't had a blow-up game like he had this weekend against.
Yeah, he's had a handful of really good games this year. Last year he had some more explosive games, similar to what we saw this past week. But yeah, Jaden Stoshak, he's one of the ones along with Markel Wade, where Markel Wade had 4 catches and 4 touchdowns last week. So this wide receiver room is stretching the field on their side of the ball. So this could be a track meet in Jacksonville between these two offenses.
You love to see it. I mean, it's going to be great. Like we were just talking about a 70-80 game. We might see a 70-70 game here in, Tulsa has shown that they have no problem giving up big numbers to people. So let's hope we can get there. I mean, Quad City they didn't really give up a ton there, but
yeah. And with that Tulsa versus Quad City this past weekend, they took their foot off the gas with about 10 minutes left. Like they had 60 on the board with 10 minutes in the game, and they were like, all right, we're good. We got this one in hand. So if they were stomping on the gas for a full 60, we're on 80 watch. We're possibly on 90 watch based on the form that this Oilers offense is at. So, I really, really love what Tulsa's doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Who you got in this one? Tulsa or Jacksonville? Which fan base are you going to upset tonight?
I've already made them mad all season. Why not make them mad a little bit more tonight? I'm going with Tulsa. Every year you see some type of upset in the IFL playoffs, whether it's a 3 over a 2 or a 4 over a 1. And I think we see this one where if Tulsa is able to close out 1 or 2 of those games early on, this is a no-brainer in Tulsa. But I still am going to roll with the Tulsa Oilers in this one.
I'm having a hard time picking against Jacksonville at home right now, just because that was the monkey on their back initially. And I think the other part of it is I think Sammy Edwards is playing into form. And don't forget, Jacksonville put up that big spot against Green Bay without Marcus Rogers having a big game. Like, they're 3 deep at receiver, and Jimmy Robinson has been quiet. Like, don't look now. But they have plenty of offensive weapons to match Tulsa blow for blow. They have the home field advantage. The Shark Tank is going to be rocking. I don't think I can pick against Jacksonville in this one. I think it's going to be the Sharks because Sammy Edwards looked great. I mean, 15 of 19 for 196 and 7. Good God, the Florida quarterbacks decided that, don't forget, we know ball.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. I'm very excited for it.
So, all right, heading over, we got a triple header on Sunday.
Oh, yes.
A 2, a 5:30, and a 9. Bangers. Boom, boom, boom. Starting it off, Orlando, Green Bay Blizzard. Third meeting, 5 points have separated the teams over the previous 2 matchups. What was the quotes for?
That 5 points, we're putting a lot of weight in it, but one of those was a touchdown with no time left to make it a 3-point game. So
Trey, they don't ask how.
Do what you do.
They don't ask how. They ask
do what
how
you do.
many. And that was the week 1. What was that? Like week 4? It was an early season.
It was early.
It was early. Orlando wasn't the same. Orlando's figured out how to play on the road. Trey, the Pirates have looked good the past couple weeks. They've taken it to a new level. I mean, they've been in playoff live or die mode for the past month and a half. And they've been delivering every single week. Green Bay has been in the same spot. I just know this is going to be a treat of a game. Like, that's the only thing I know.
Yeah, it's gonna be a banger. It's gonna be a very, very good game between two offenses that know how to light it up. I do think the door has been cracked open, if it wasn't already, for Orlando to potentially upset Green Bay. Kyrie Robinson getting hurt and not being available for the remainder of the playoffs, that's massive for Green Bay. He was just an absolutely electric running back for this Blizzard team. I think he was IFL Offensive Player of the Week a couple times with a number of 5 touchdown performances. So losing him is big, but that just puts more on the plate of Liam Thompson and what he has to do to lead this team. And to me, the major concern is still with Orlando. They won on the road the past couple games. That's awesome. But how many points did they give up in the process? They gave up 54 to a San Antonio offense that couldn't fight their way off a paper bag at times this year. And then they were an inch away. If the wide receiver for Fishers moves his hands like this,
anything to talk
they're
about,
not even in the playoffs.
Anything to talk about the picture you took, Trey. That's all you wanted to do.
I wasn't gonna say
you were gonna say
it. So thank you for saying it for me.
I'm a good co-host like that. I'm gonna put you in a spot to pump your tires a little bit.
Thank you. I let the record show I would never bring up the picture.
Yes, he was
a guy like me. I would never bring up the picture.
He's gonna bring up the picture.
I would never.
He spent the whole trip telling me how he's a cultural icon in the 50-yard game.
Where's the lie? Where's the lie? Where's the lie? But this matchup is extremely interesting because Orlando has shown time after time they can put points on the board. Paxton DeLauren has been unreal. That wide receiver trio,
9 touchdowns last week.
It's just so good.
Ground, 6 through the air. 1 child taken out in the front row, and 1 arena just absolutely silenced.
Yeah.
Like, when he scored that touchdown, Trey, the decibel drop had to be triple digits in
the silence. The silence was deafening. Like it was wild how it went from buzzing to nothing that quickly.
I don't know. Is there a spread out on this game yet? Do we know?
Yeah, the lines were released. Let me pull it up here.
It's
spread on this one is 7.5 Green Bay, -7.5.
What?
Yeah.
That feels massive. This is less than a touchdown game. This is going to be less than a touchdown game.
It feels like it. Yeah.
And Orlando's been playing really well. Orlando's got a vibe, got a mojo right now. But so does Green Bay. It's like, can we flip these? Like, I don't know. Like, some of these teams have to lose, and that sucks right now. I don't want this to happen because all 8 of these teams in the IFL playoffs are just on a run right now. Spoiler alert. If you're subscribed to Indoor Football Weekly, you've already heard our how every IFL team wins the championship section. If you're watching the live stream, go to your podcast provider, subscribe to Indoor Football Weekly. We'll be dropping the episode probably tomorrow afternoon, and that'll include how every IFL team can win the championship.
That's right.
So,
who you got? Orlando versus Green Bay. Who do you got?
Give me Orlando. Give me Orlando. They're on a heater right now. Like, all the respect to Green Bay, all the respect to our friend Joey Bonadonna, all the respect to Liam Thompson and everything the Blizz are doing, and all the respect to Blizzball. One of these teams is going to win and one of them is going to lose, and I'm not going to be surprised either way when it happens. But I think Orlando has a little bit of mo, and I think they've played in some bigger games. And I think taking it on the chin more recently, like they did with the Blizzard loss, is going to help them in the long run.
I'm going to have to go on the opposite end. I think Green Bay is still the team to beat in the East, and I'm just rubbing my.
They definitely are the team to beat.
rubbing my hands at the prospect of a potential Blizzard versus Oilers Eastern Conference Championship. That would be the dream.
Rubbing my hands at whatever Eastern Conference Championship
that would
We're
be
a winner no matter what, Trey.
That would be the dream. But yeah, I think
Unlike
Green Bay.
Trey, I don't discriminate about my indoor football playoff berths. All the teams in this are going to be great. I'm never going to be disappointed.
Oh, participation
Trey
trophy
just wants
over
to be
here.
able to wear his
Mr. Participation Trophy, giving out gold medals to everybody. I see how it is, but this Liam Thompson is going to have an MVP moment in this game to outpace Paxton DeLaurent, and it seems like whoever makes the first mistake is going to be the
I don't know that it's the first mistake. I think it's the last mistake. Whoever makes the last mistake, or if it's anything like their game in Orlando, whoever makes the mistake is going to lose the game. Whichever quarterback wins this game, talk about it as the MVP moment. I don't know if they voted on MVP yet. If they haven't, whoever wins this game should jump into the conversation. I still think it's Liam Thompson, but if Paxton DeLaurent goes to Green Bay and the Pirates win, and he has a great game, you could talk me into putting him in the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, he's had a strong close to the season, 100%.
5:30, we're heading out to Vegas, baby, for the Arizona Rattlers and the Vegas Nighthawks. Another banger. Bangers, top to bottom, a 2 and a 5:30. No word yet if we'll get some split screen action, some quad box or whatever, if the kickoffs are run into each other a little bit, but 3.5 should be enough time to get out.
Yeah, if they overlap, we're gonna have a double OT game in Green Bay. Like that's the only way.
Love it. That's what I want. I want all of the games to overlap. Yeah. It'll be great. Arizona making some moves here. Did you see Arizona brought back Dalton Sneed, I believe?
Yeah. An interesting move where you start with Myler, you go to Powell, you go back to Myler, the playoffs start, and you go, you know what? Let's sign Dalton Sneed. Why not?
I mean, I think they released Drew Powell then, didn't they?
I don't think they did. I think they put another player on season IR. So that's an interesting move. I don't know what it means. It could all be a smokescreen, could be a whole lot of nothing, but Dalton Sneed has beaten Vegas in the playoffs in the past. So it could be a little bit of mental warfare from old coach Kevin Guy over there. But yeah, this Vegas team, I'm very excited to see this offense against this Arizona defense that has been outstanding through the back half of this season, where this Vegas offense is arguably the most talented in all the IFL when you look up and down the roster at the skill positions.
Okay. Talented. Yes. Talented. I'll give you talented.
What are we doing here? What are we doing?
They're the best. I don't think they're the best. I don't even think they're in my top conversation right now. Without they've really sputtered in the back half of the season here.
No, Vegas is on past your bedtime. I can tell.
That might be. But I also know that I've watched a bunch of this, and I watched some San Diego Strike Force. I've watched some Green Bay Blizzard. I've watched some Orlando Pirates. I've watched some everybody, Tulsa Oilers. And I don't know, maybe it's the fact that JDL's been out. Like Jaden DeLaura being out probably is biasing my opinion a little bit. I'm not thinking of them correctly with Jaden DeLaura versus without Jaden DeLaura.
Jaden DeLaura was out the last game. They still put up 54. I mean, that just shows the amount of talent that they have on this offense.
Hold on. They put up 54 against Naz.
Without their most explosive weapons playing.
They put up 54 against Naz.
Yeah, a Naz team that has been very good over the past month.
They've been okay over the last month.
They've been very good over the past month.
I don't know about very good.
Very good.
Now who's giving out participation? Who's giving out? Look at, I see those medals hanging behind you. I think I see a 12th place.
This guy couldn't point out Prescott Valley on the map, and he's trying to tell me
I'm not the only person who couldn't point out Prescott Valley on the map. You show me. Arizona's right here. Arizona's my head. Where is it? Where's Prescott Valley?
It's right in between the eyeballs.
Right there?
Right there.
That feels low, but I'm going to concede to you on this one.
And all this to say, the Vegas Nighthawks arguably the most talented offensive roster when you look at Quentin Randolph, you look at Deshaun Stoudemire, Josh Tomas, Antonio Wimbush. The amount of all IFL accolades between those four alone is impressive. And then you have a healthy Jaden Delora heading into the playoffs. This offense can be extremely special, but this Arizona defense has been playing unreal. I think they have 29 interceptions on the year. The secondary is playing great. The D-line's getting pressure, and when you combine those two things, that's a good thing. But this the offense for Arizona, the signing of Snead has me scratching my chin a little bit, trying to figure out what all is going on there. But this is going to be a banger. This is going to be a very good game. It's hard to beat a Kevin Guy coach team 3 times in a season, and Vegas is going to be trying to do that.
It is. And I'm landing on some people's naughty list here. Coach Davis coming in to the
Get him, coach. Get him, coach. Get him.
Let's see where are they? They are second in points behind Green Bay and ahead of Arizona and San Diego by a bit. So I was wrong. The eye test could be wrong. And again, I said I was a little biased because no JDL recently does bias me a little bit, but I was wrong.
East Coast bias in the media. Unbelievable.
East Coast bias in the
Unbelievable.
media. I think
unreal.
And then we cap it off with a night game. We need picks here. Who are you taking?
I'm going with Vegas still. I think the usage of Josh Tomas and Antonio Wimbush, I'm extremely intrigued by. Tomas has just been so dynamic all season long, but Wimbush was unbelievable for this Vegas squad last year in that Swiss Army knife role as well. So depending on how they split off Tomas versus Wimbush on special teams versus in the backfield, if they have both in the backfield at the same time, it's going to be fun. I think this is going to be a very explosive game.
Coach Mike Davis nailing it with Pac-12 at night. Love to see it.
That's right.
I love Arizona. Arizona's been playing great. Max Myler's been spectacular, but I think I'm having a hard time picking against Vegas right now. They just JDL back, healthy, both those backs in. Give me Vegas. I think Arizona's been a little more up and down than I think I'd want to see or I'd expect out of an Arizona team.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's going to be fireworks in this game. We know this is going to be a great game. We know this is going to come down to a touchdown and probably very similar to Green Bay, Orlando. Who makes the last mistake is going to lose this one.
Yeah, I love what Vegas is doing. I think Arizona, if they are able to control the game through the ground, I think that's their best shot to be able to win this game. But I'm going with Vegas.
Yeah. And then capping it off, the night game, some IFL After Dark. We got the Tucson Sugar Skulls and the San Diego Strike Force. Tucson, a little bit of a hot-ish streak. They warmed up a little bit in the back half of the season with the arrival of Jerome Johnson. And San Diego been on an absolute tear over the past couple weeks. Trey, what are you watching in this one?
I think San Diego is going to win this one decisively. For me, how San Diego has been able to use the running game to take some of the pressure off Nate Davis has been outstanding this year. Whether it's through Feed Vander and the movement that's taking over social media feeds everywhere, and then he's that ground and pound style where you need 7 yards, he'll give you 8. You need 4 yards, he'll give you 5. He's one of those backs, and he's able to break it. But then what Tyrell Green has been able to do as that change of pace guy has been awesome to see as well. And keep in mind, Nate Davis is still Nate Davis, flinging the ball across the yard to that talented wide receiver group. But what impresses me the most is the defense of San Diego. That D-line has been nasty for the Strike Force, and they have a ton of vets in the secondary. So I think on the defensive side of the ball, they're going to cause some headaches for this Tucson offense that is either red hot or ice cold. And what version of Jerome Johnson we see is going to determine how this game dictates.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just San Diego, after starting the season 4-2, a little bit of back and forth, just on a tear here. So they are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9-1 since their May 2nd loss.
Yeah.
They've been on an absolute tear. They've been putting up points. They've put 60 on the board. 3 times in that stretch, and they had a 73-point performance in April. Like, this is a team. Nate Davis has given us a vintage Nate Davis performance here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm having a hard time picking against a team that's been that hot, especially a team that in that stretch beat Tucson last weekend 40-36 in a tight one, in a game that they didn't really need to do anything in. Like, they kind of it didn't matter if they won.
To San Diego, like for San Diego, Nate Davis didn't see the field. Kyle Kelly was running the ball like crazy, but for Tucson, Jerome Johnson didn't see the field either. So it was kind of the backup bowl, knowing that you don't want to show your hand too much because they're playing each other in the same exact building 1 week later.
Yeah. I got to pick San Diego in this one. I can't, as much as I love Tucson and Jerome Johnson, and I would love to see, the Sugar Skulls complete this turnaround here in this season. I think this is a next year project for them to really take that next step.
Yeah, I think San Diego is going to control the pace of this game, and a lot of San Diego's shortcomings have been self-inflicted this year. So if they can just play their clean brand of football, this is going to be a very dangerous team.
Yeah. Trey, any final thoughts on the IFL as we kind of wrap it up? Again, we talked about it a little bit. If you're not already subscribe to Indoor Football Weekly. We will be dropping that episode tomorrow. Ron James saying it should be a great game. Love to see it, Coach. Should be a great weekend of football, that's for sure. Make sure you subscribe to Indoor Football Weekly to get even more content. Working on some interviews potentially, but definitely check out how all 8 IFL teams win the IFL championship.
Yeah.
Trey, any closing thoughts as we wrap it up here?
We got 7 games of IFL left. We got 3 games of AF1 left. Enjoy the 50-yard football season while it's here. We're going to be stuck outdoors for a little while before we know it. So it's the beautiful game, and let's give it the love it deserves.
There we go. Trey, you got anything you need to plug before we get out of here?
I got a new episode of Off the Wall that dropped earlier today this week. We got Ravarius Rivers, a former IFL Defensive Player of the Year, had him on to talk through his football journey, his time in the UFL, and his seasons with the Green Bay Blizzard and the San Antonio Gunslingers. And it was a really, really good conversation. And some of the things that he talked about with his mindset and approach to the game was very insightful for me personally. So go check that out on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts if you haven't already. Follow us on all of our socials at Off the Wall FB, F as in foot, B as in ball.
There we go. That's Trey. I'm Adam, and we will see y'all next week.